Thanksgiving Day in 1944, a day of prayer and a day of rejoicing, a day upon which this nation gives thanks for the devotion of its sons who have held it secure against its enemies and have gone on to strike mighty blows at the very heart of the enemy homeland. It is fitting that upon this day we should bring you the graphic true story to be told tonight on the first line, a story which can only be called Invasion is Our Business. For this is the story of a tank landing ship which fought its way through the series of invasions culminating in the landings in Normandy, those invasions upon which the structure of victory in Europe is being built. This is the story of the ship, of her officers and crew, and their superlative courage and daring.
My name is Bill Mcdermott, and I'm a survivor of the illness 314. And I was born and raised in northeast Pennsylvania. And I went to, part of my schooling was there in Pennsylvania, and I graduated from the Kingston High School in Pennsylvania, which is right outside in the Wilkes-Barre area, across the river from Wilkes-Barre, really. And it's what they call the Lymewood Valley area. We're surrounded by the Pocono Mountains, the valley was. I was working a part-time job at the Kingston Bakery, was the name of the Blue Ribbon. I'm not even sure if they're still in business now or not, but they were at that one time. They're probably one of the largest bakeries here in eastern Pennsylvania. I enlisted in the Navy 1 week before my 18th birthday. And on my 18th birthday, I went to Sampson, New York. It was the naval training base up there, and that was in February in 1944. And the base is located on Seneca Lake, which is really a pretty part of the state. It's part of the Finger Lake area. There's five lakes that are very close to one another, and they look like fingers, so that's why they call them Finger Lakes. We spent 4 weeks in boot camp at that time. Normally, boot camp at that time during the war was a normal 7-week training period. But apparently they were in much need of manpower, so they cut our training time down to 4 weeks. And they did give us 1 week, a 7-day furlough, which we went home, enjoyed. We were back after 7 days. We went into the outgoing unit, because as we left, another group come in, and that's how they did it up there in the base. They just kept filling the base up with people as people would leave. Then when we got back, we had no place to stay, and we went into what they call the outgoing unit. And we slept on a Bill floor that night. And in the morning, we were all taken down to the train station and shipped on down to New York City, down at Pier 92. They had 3 bases around New York City. They had the Brooklyn Navy Yard and the Pier 92, and I forgot what was another one of them. But there was 1,500 of us that shipped right out of boot camp, and right down into the city where they separated us. And 500 of us went to the 500 of us stayed. Well, 500 was at the Brooklyn Navy Yard. 500 stayed at Pier 92, and 500 of us they sent up to an island up the East River in New York City. And actually, we didn't know what it was at the time that we were going there, but it turned out to be a prison camp for wayward military service people, mostly Navy and Marines, and it was heavily guarded by Marines. So I didn't know at the time anyway, just 18-year-old naive boy that just going to do whatever they told me to do. And we were there probably about 7 or 8 days. And we did have one liberty in New York City, and we had to get back up there. So again, they had a bus to drop us off and pick us up so we wouldn't get lost after wandering around for a couple hours. They had a curfew for us anyway that we had to be back by 8 o'clock. And so after we got back, we were only there probably a few hours, and then then we went back to the prison camp, and the next morning we were up, and they shipped us back down to Pier 92, and then at Pier 92 they were gathering the 1,500 sailors, and then they took us over to Pier 88, and the place was mobbed, and what they were doing was loading up the Queen Elizabeth with manpower, troops, whomever, I imagine, probably some females were there. It took us one day to get loaded onto the ship, and you never knew where they put us down. They put our group, I don't know how many there was, but they took one group, our group, and we were down the D deck. And I don't think it'd get much lower on board the Queen Elizabeth. And next morning we were off onto Europe. And they took a zigzag course going over due to the fact of the submarine forces that was always lingering around the port of New York to see what ships are coming in and going out. Plus they had the wolf packs all over the Atlantic at that time anyway. So went north one day. They would leave us off out of the ship, out of the outside of the ship for 15 minutes every day. And they were just gather you there to teach you how to put your life jacket on if necessary, and what have you, get some fresh air. But one day we would say we would be very, very cold, because apparently we were up in the North Atlantic. And the next day when they would leave us out, we would be very, very warm. And apparently that's what gave me the idea that we were taking a zigzag course to Europe. And it was very warm one day, and the next day it was cold. But it only took us 4 days to get to England. Actually, we landed in Scotland, up in north. And we were there, probably about 8 or 9 days. And we were put on a train in Scotland. It was up near about 25 miles, a little bit north of Glasgow. And they put us on a train, and they shipped us down to Weymouth, England. And that was really what it was before the war. It was a resort area. But they had made it into a port. And basically it was mainly LSTs that would be gathering there. And then they would, they assigned us onto all the different LSTs. There was approximately about 26 of us that went on this one LST, the 314. And that afternoon, the captain welcomed us aboard. Then I found out later that the captain thought he was getting a real trained force of sailors that just came out of Little Creek, Virginia, which was the small boat and the amphibious training base for sailors. That wasn't the case. And so they did assign the stations and, about get us our gun positions and what have you. And another fellow and I we were assigned to a 20 millimeter. And I was the gunner and he was the loader. But that still didn't make any difference because we really didn't know what we were doing anyway. And that night, the Germans were coming over, and you can see the German planes because they had the searchlights going on around them, and they were bombing around the town. And someone said they were supposedly dropping mines into the harbor, but this I'd never seen anything drop down or heard anything. But I did see a lot of the ground action where the anti-aircraft procedures were happening in on the land. But the captain just, Simon, on the loudspeaker that whatever you do, don't load the guns and don't because we're not going to be able to shoot. And the reason he said that, he didn't really want to give away our positions that we were in the harbor. It wouldn't make any difference anyway because we couldn't load them. We didn't know how. We had no training to do that. So they did secure battle stations probably about 2 hours. Then that's when the captain finally realized that he didn't have a well-trained crew that he thought he was getting one on the afternoon of the day before when he welcomed us all aboard. But he was very happy and he was very congenial. And that morning, we spent all morning how to load the gun, how to take the magazine out and load it, and how to take them apart, and how to remove the barrels. Because one of the problems with the 20mm guns, they did overheat. And we always used to have a pipe standby right next to the gun station filled with water. But if, we'd fire maybe 2 or 3 magazines, we'd have to take the barrel out. We all had big asbestos gloves to use and whatever to take the barrels out and dump them into the big pipes that we had to keep them cool. And we'd have to replace the barrel and get ready for another string of how to fire the gun. And that afternoon, which we didn't do any firing at all. We were just learning how to operate the gun and how to load it, how to what to do with it. So that afternoon, 5 of us went outside of the harbor, and there was a plane, an English plane kept coming over us, drawing a sleeve, which was quite a distance between the sleeve and the cable was long between the sleeve and the plane. And they told us at that time that we were going to start firing, and they instructed us, when to start firing, because we spent all morning learning how to do it. So we were almost expert by this time, 4 hours. Which we did. We went ahead and we fired our gun, and they told us, now what you need to do is make sure you keep away from the plane. Don't fire at the plane, but you fire at the sleeve, but you lead the sleeve. You fire in front of the sleeve, because by the time the distance between when your ammunition was going up in the air, and the plane was moving, so you had to sort of look ahead of the sleeve and to fire, so the plane would be flying into your fire if you're elongated. And we spent, the plane made one pass, and he called back and said, no, he had enough. He wasn't going to get shot down by friendly fire. At least that's what the story was. So we all had a big laugh over that, and that's some joking and that stuff was going on. But from that day on, and I'm sure your uncle is, part of the crew that was helping us out. And probably within a couple of weeks, we were probably pretty seasoned sailors. And that was because of the excellent crew that was on the LSC 314, because they all had previous experiences on the 314, because that was in several invasions down in the Mediterranean. They were there at, I think it was Palermo and Sicily and those places where they invaded one part of Italy. So they've seen a lot of action and a lot of problems during the invasions down there. Matter of fact, one of the ships that one of the fellows was telling me about, I think it was a 313, was bombed. The bomb came right down to him, and the 314 was almost next to him, on the beach. And they lost that 314 down there. And that's how the thing went along pretty good. We did do some maneuvering. We went up to the White Cliffs of Dover. We did some small boat maneuvering, and we were actually doing some firing, but we weren't firing at anything because we had no targets. We were just firing up the air to make the simulation more more realistic. And then, you know, we had troops aboard. We had, you know, on the beach. We had some equipment on there that was we left on the beach, and we had some of our small boats taking troops in on the beach. So we were capable of taking the infantry in too, besides some of their equipment, like tanks and trucks and whatever they needed. And then the maneuvering came upon, and we were getting ready now for the invasion of Japan, of France, and we were quite aware of what was happening. I mean, everybody thought it was a big secret. Nobody was supposed to know anything, but we knew exactly. You could tell exactly what was going on, and we were, you know, much prepared for it. And we took on, for the invasion of Normandy, it was, well, probably around the first week in June. I'm not sure exact date, but we loaded up 15 ducks. And these are vehicles that are capable of going in the water and also running on land. They can do amphibious vehicles. And each of the ducks had probably about 6 crew members, and they were all loaded with 5 howitzers and ammunition. So we got those people all loaded up, ready to go. We took off around, I would say probably around the 4th, late 3rd and 4th. But we never did get over Normandy in France. That day, matter of fact, the weather was so bad and the channel was so choppy, they canceled it, and we went back to England. I really don't know how far we were out of England, but we turned around and went back. And then the next, around the 5th, we started out again. They gave us a goal for another run. And we never unloaded the ship around. The sailors or the soldiers, infantry, they all stayed on board. And then I was on the 6th of June that we dropped anchor. We were probably our flotilla was probably one of the first ships over that dropped anchor. It was around 2:30 in the morning. We were assigned to Omaha Beach, but the green section. And that's how they did it. They had to keep it organized. And it was then that we dropped and it was still choppy. And we were dropping the tank doors, the ship doors, and lower the ramp. And we were letting the ducks out, and they were making a circle maneuvering type of thing, getting ready to make the run into the beach. And we were probably maybe a mile and a half off the beach, but you could see everything that was going on. The battleships, you know, all up and down the coast, and the destroyers and cruisers, the plane traffic. The plane traffic was enormous, and supposedly we did have, besides all the destroyers and destroyer escorts, we had an overhead, supposedly looking out for our protection, and we had those P-38s. They had the twin fuselage type of a fighter plane, and they would be flying around over us all the time. We did encounter one, supposed to be one ME-109 plane that came around, and we did some firing, but it didn't amount to much. But the fireworks, which I call it, one of the battleships would let go of salve, and it looked like it. Once they let go of the salve, it would move the battleship probably back about 15 to 20 yards after each shot. But that was going on all the time, and then you can see the shoreline with bomber planes, just playing one after the other, just going up and down the coast, you know, bombing the shoreline and the beach and the gun positions, and which they did a really some good job, but unfortunately the pillboxes and what the Germans had built over there were pretty good. They withstand a lot of it, because Omaha Beach is one of the toughest beaches that you know, that was, because of the enemy firepower that they had. So, but that was then we dropped, you know, particularly was the 1st Division, part of the 1st Division Infantry. We took them into our small boats, and we only had 3 small boats returned. We lost 3 of them over there. We don't really know what happened to them, because none of the guys ever came back, so we really don't know what happened. And that was D-Day, pretty much. You know, we're getting a lot of gun shell, a lot of work, a lot of firepower from the beach. But we had to sort of let up on what we could do and what our people were doing, what the battleships could do. The planes could drop many more bombs, but the Germans up on the beach, up on land, they could continue to fire at will, whenever they wanted, which they did as best as they could. And we left. So I would say we left Normandy and Omaha Beach about 3:30 in the afternoon, and we did take some cargo back. And unfortunately, the cargo, or lower, all the tank deck, was filled with dead soldiers. And the strange thing about that was, you know, go down and look at those poor guys laying down there, and every one of them, they had their shoes off and stockings off, and each one of them had a tag on their toe for identification purposes. But it wasn't a very pleasant sight to see your own people, you know, being handled the way that they did. But they had no other choice, but when we brought them aboard, you know, and laid them out on the tank deck, and then that was our cargo going back. And as soon as we got back into England, they took them off and they made their burial procedures. And then we went into Weymouth again, and that's when we cleaned up what mess we had, and we got some more small boats. We had 6 small boats on our ship. Normally, LSTs at that time, in that particular class, they did carry 6 small boats. Some of the LSTs had 2 small boats or 4 small boats. But the later models came out only with 2. And one of the things I want to relate to you that happened when we were unloading the ducks with the 105 howitzers and the ammunition, we had 15 ducks aboard, and we were dropping them off, you know, right off the ramp, and they were supposed to be going around into a circle, and they were going to go ahead and make a run to the beach right at daylight. And what happened is that the swells in the channel were too high, and the ducks were not capable of handling the rough water. They were a little bit calmer water, and unbelievable, 9 out of the 15 ducks swamped and sank. And I'm sure probably part of the 6 did make it into the beach, but 9 out of the 15 sank. We lost right there, you know, out into the channel.
What happened to all the people on it?
The people, we put our small boat, we had our small boats out, and we hadn't loaded any of the soldiers on it as yet. And we were able to we were able to survive those. And unfortunately, we were furnished what we call May West life vest, and you would put them on just like, say, a coat. They were heavy, and you know, you get them tied up good around your neck, and and all the soldiers had on was just a rubber vest, or not a vest, but a belly band, like a belly band type of thing, made out of rubber. And they had small little CO2 bottles in them that when you put them together and you pressed it, that the CO2 would go ahead and inflate the rubber vest. And they weren't very strong. Because I'll tell you later on when we get to the part that when the 314 was torpedoed and sunken, what was happening to those poor soldiers was unbelievable. So, but we did lose 9 out of the 15 ducks. They sank right there, and we were able to rescue most of the soldiers. But we dropped them off at the beach. We put them on the small boat with the infantry, and they were, I don't know where they were assigned to after that. I imagine there was probably plenty of confusion on the beach anyway.